Hey Bryan, that table and that mirror looks familiar. You're right, it does. We're talking about familiar things today. Because I'm in the new house, I'm very excited to be here, thankfully, no longer homeless, as you saw in the other videos. But here's the deal. We're talking about a familiar theme today. One that you might think, Bryan, this theme is too overused. So many people are making themes about this that they just need to stop. It's terrifying. Why are they doing this? No, we're not talking about Cthulhu. We're actually talking about one of my favorite Euro themes of all time, farming. That's right, Fields of Green, a re-implementation of a space game, if I believe. Stronghold Games. That's a good sign, guys, lately. I mean, we're talking about some incredible games. We just played Terraforming Mars a minute ago. I love that game. I lost. I never lose. Anyway, Fields of Green, Stronghold Games. Let's look at this and see, wait a minute. Should they have changed the theme to farming, or should they have changed it to, like, sand crossing desert chips in the wasteland? Who knows? Let's look right now at Fields of Green. So what is Fields of Green exactly? Because here's the deal. Fields of Green is a card drafting 4-year simulation farm building game in which you try to have the best farm over 4 years. Kind of exactly what I just said, right? But notice what I said there. It's card drafting. In my opinion, this game replaces Seven Wonders. I know you're supposed to say that in the end part, but I'm saying it now, okay? But don't let that run you off and think, oh, it's just Seven Wonders, a tableau builder. It's not, because there's one important fact that I have not mentioned yet about this game, which sells the game to me and why I absolutely love this game. Way to step on the lead. I know you're not supposed to say all this until the end thoughts, whatever, but here's the deal. You don't all do things right all the time. In fact, there's probably going to be a rules error. Here's the thing. I love this game, and this is the reason why. Inside of this wonderful farm-filled package is a mechanic of tile placement, card placement. Where you place your cards matters. Let's look at what I'm talking about right now. So here's the basic setup. Everyone starts with a silo with one food on it, right? Wooden meeples, come on, right? In the shape of water, in the shape of food. You gotta love it. It could be grain, could be barley, could be wheat. You don't know, because that's what matters with your cards. Everyone starts with that water tower and a silo. They say, well, what does this range 2 mean on the said water tower? Well, that range is where our tile placement stuff comes into play. And by that I mean, first turn, we'll back up. First turn, you pass clockwise, right? So the first player, whoever's got the first player token, I think it's the last person who's stolen something or something like that. I don't remember. It's something like that. First person who's done something. Anyway, they'll pick up 6 cards. You have to pick from 3 of the different stacks. Here's the different stacks. You've got buildings, fields, livestock, constructions, all different types of cards. Let's look at what some of these cards do. So you'll get your hand of 6 cards right over here. What you do with that hand of 6 cards is you'll take one out, you'll pay the cost in the top left corner there. This one costs 3 for oxen. You'll then place it on your farm. Now, one thing of note, we all came to a consensus on, diagonal never counts. You can never place diagonal either. Everything's got to be orthogonal. So, let's say you play the oxen. Well, you would pay $3 to buy the oxen. This says, in the harvest phase, because the phases are, just so we know, upkeep phase, you skip the first turn. Action phase, that's buying these cards and playing them out there and doing this stuff. And then harvest phase, at the bottom of the card, you'll see it says, in the harvest, pay 2 food, gain $1 or 1 coin or 1 space buck, whatever you want to call it, for each other location with a harvest ability, within 2 with a harvest ability. So range of 2, right? So right now, you would get nothing for that except the $1, except if you wanted to gain $1 for each location within 2 as a harvest ability. It wouldn't do you any good yet. Let's say you had also played barley. It says get 1 food for each non-cereal corn or non-cereal field within 2, get an additional 2 food. So right here, if you played this, this is immediate. You see at the bottom of the card it says immediate. You would play this And then you don't have any non-cereal fields within 2. You don't have any cereal fields within 2, so you'd also get another food. Food goes onto the silo. When it's full, it's full. Everything else goes wasted. This barley, you'll notice, costs a water and a coin, so you would have to pay the coin out of your stuff, and then the water out of the silo. Silos start full. Water towers start full. They start with 3 water on them. Once you pay a silo, here's the thing. I keep saying silo. Once you pay for water, it has to come off of a water tower within range. So if you had put this, let's just say you had enough things like this, right? Let's just say you had this going on. Well, you could not lay this card here because it's not in range of 2 of this water tower. So it'd have to go somewhere here. You'd pay the cost of the water right there. Here's the other thing. And that's how it goes. That's how it goes. You take a card, draft it, hand it around, and then keep going around until all the cards get played. So you're picking your initial hand out of the types of cards: buildings, fields, livestock, and constructions. They all do different types of things. They all score differently. They're all priced differently, all that sort of things. So you're setting up your first hand really good. Well, then you have to just keep playing around what everyone else has set up. So that's the setup phase. That's the action phase of putting your cards down. And it's not a tableau. It's an actual farm where placement matters, because now, let's just say this gets too far out here and you need water over here to start putting other stuff on your farm. For an action, here's the different actions you can do. You can build a location. That's the things that we mentioned a second ago. You can build a water tower. So you can discard the card that you were going to play that round, aka building a wonder, right? Pay $2 and then get another water tower right here. Water towers come out full, so you'd fill it up with 3. You probably can't see that on frame, but either way, just know it's there. The other action you can do is you can build a silo. Discard the card that you were going to play to build a silo. Silos are free, but they do not come out full. They come out empty. Makes kind of sense, right? Go to the market, so you can discard the chosen location card and get $2. You can also pay a food and get $2 per food paid. So if you wanted to pay all 3 of these foods, you would get 8 coins for going to the market that turn, 2 for the base, 2 for each food. Restore location. We'll talk about that in a minute. I never had to do that when we played. But harvest phase happens, right? So let's get a few more cards out here so we can just kind of see the farm with the harvest and all the different things going on in the harvest phase. The purple cards, the building cards, play a lot like guild cards in Seven Wonders. And I'm not comparing this to Seven Wonders. You go, well, that's just, why would I get this game when I can play Seven Wonders? I'm just saying that because there's a similar analog you can kind of get a feel for. So this is get 1 star, which is a victory point for each construction in your farm. So it doesn't matter where it is, it just costs you $5. So each construction card are these yellow cards. They're called construction. So this right now would net us 2 points at the end of the game. Get 1 victory point for each building. So when you play this, you'd get 2 victory points because it counts the 1 itself. So this, let's just say this is our farm here, okay? Harvest comes along. Here's what happens. You then start doing here, I'll fill these up just so we're set up for this turn, okay? You start doing the harvest in any order you want. And why that's important is, let's just say you don't actually have enough to pay for the corn. Let's say you're out of water and it's going to cost you $2 or 2 water to do the corn and 2 water to do the apple trees and another water to do the wheat. Well, you can do it in any order you want. So let's just say you put the 2 water on the corn, right? Well, then you're out. These flip over and are basically empty spaces. That's what the restore action's for. You can flip those back over. They don't produce, they don't score points or anything like that. They only count as just an empty spot on your farm. You can flip them back over with the restore action. So the cool thing about that is though, this whole you can do it in any order. There are some cards that will allow you to get water, right? So if you pay the water here, pay the food here or something like that, well, there might be a card which lets you get water from doing this. So depending on what order you do things in, you may never have to flip anything over, and that's what happened with us. So that is the action and upkeep phase. That's the action in the harvest phase. The upkeep phase, your tokens moved, drafting direction reverses, you get a wheat, 2 waters, and 3 coins, and then you draw your hand again, and that's at place. One other facet of the game are these tool tokens or equipment tokens. They're basically these little chits, these little tokens over here. You draw 3 of them and keep 1 you want. They do just different things, you know. This one's a game in scoring helper. This one is water, livestock harvest. You had to play it on a livestock harvest once. You'd have to put it on the a livestock card that has a harvest, so the auction would work. So harvest, you may discard this instead of paying the livestock's cost. So you'd put it right here in your auction. So instead of paying that food there, you can just say, well, no, I want to water them. That goes out. And that is how the game is played. Simple, Period. That's it. So Bryan, what did you think of Fields of Green? Fields of Green was a great experience. I had a good time playing this. If you had to ding it for anything, this is what it sounds like when you're playing Fields of Green. It's a really quiet game. And the reason it's quiet is because it is multiplayer solitaire. There's nothing you do that interacts with anybody else other than, hey, here's the cards I'm passing you. That's it. That doesn't bother me though. It bothers some people to play multiplayer solitaire. That's never been an issue for me. I like multiplayer solitaire games because engine building is something I absolutely love. It's probably my favorite thing about board gaming, period, is the idea of me building an engine and letting that thing run and sustain itself. There's some delight I get from that. That's why worker placement games that have an engine building mechanic are great. Your Agricolas, your Cavernas, farming games really lend themselves to engine building because you have to build up your farm and get a better farm, and hopefully you can feed your people. Hopefully you can support your harvest, right? And I love that. And I also like that this game is not ancient farming or old farming. And there's nothing wrong with a lot of the newer farm games at all, but I really enjoy with the older farm games like Agricola, which is in the 1700s. But I like the fact there's tractors and things like that, right? I mean, every once in a while it feels good to play a different kind of farming game where you're not starving to death in the 1700s, or you're not digging in the caves because you're cave farmers, which, by the way, Cavernas are great. But here's my point. This game is fun, even though it's solitaire. And here's what I mean by that. You have to figure out where you're going to place things and put them, because scoring also has a lot to do with where you place things. Where you put things out on the board has a lot to do with how things score, not just water. So it might say, well, if you have this within 2 squares away or 2 places away, get 2 victory points at the end of the game, things like that. So it's not just thrown in, by the way, this area placement. It's not just thrown together. It's not like, it's really a drafting game. We'll just kind of shoehorn in this this mechanic of where you place stuff. No, it's really built around that mechanic. Like for instance, you didn't have to do this as a drafting game. You could have done this without being a drafting game, period. You could have done it as a hand game, a hand management game, where you draw 6 cards, and those are your 6 cards the whole thing, and the game would still work. But I really like that they added the drafting mechanic in, because I now get to see why they wanted those cards. And, you're going to get my cards that I picked for me. They may not work for you at all, And so that's one really cool thing. And you can kind of see, another thing, you can kind of see what they're drawing, right? So they draw 4 building cards. I know I've got a good chance of getting some building cards from them, and it passes this way. So that's about the only interaction, and that's not a problem for me. So should you get Fields of Green? Dude, Stronghold has been knocking it out lately, and this is no slouch. I love this game. I think it's a really great, solid game. You should probably, if you like farming, get it. If you have, a group of friends that you've introduced into like 7 Wonders, and you want to take that next step game, this is the perfect next step game from that. Just because I said it's a next step game, that doesn't mean it's simple. It's a little bit more difficult, obviously. So it's a next step game, but it's also a deeper game that you can get your friends to play who like engine building and all of that sort of thing. So go check out Fields of Green. It's really fun. I really had a good time with it, and I think you will too. So that's all for this time from the latest retro. I'm Bryan Drake. We will see you next time.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.